Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Chad.
This week we cover the first film of 2021, our second serving film, Howling 2.
Your sister is a werewolf.
Party time! Ow! It's the rocking, shocking, new wave of horror. Howling 2. Howling 2. It's not over yet.
Before we get into the craziness of this film, let's talk about some of the recognizable people that are in the movie. I'll let you start off, Shad.
Well, of course, at the beginning of this movie, you get to find out right away that Christopher Lee is going to be in it because you get treated to a Star Wars-style opening with Christopher Lee and a skeleton. You can't get any better than that.
Yeah, there's like the crawl thing of like what's happened like so far in like the Howling verse, right? And then like it's what effect is that? Because I know you learned how to do that like in college.
It's like a weird kind of like overlay and like a wipe where they come in like they're, you know, just like superimposed. It's like the weather map basically that they're standing in front of, kind of. They just got a very cheap green screen that they're shoving up there and putting Christopher Lee in a skeleton reading some quick passages from the Werewolf book.
Okay, so Christopher Lee.
And we also have a guy that it took me halfway through the movie to recognize who he was. I've seen this before, but it's been a while. And the other guy in it is Reb Brown. And you wouldn't know that name from anything unless you happen to see the Captain America movie he was a part of in the 1970s. Spoiler alert, it's terrible. Captain America drives around in a used 1970s van with a motorcycle in the back of it, fights crime, and he has a transparent shield that is also the windshield for his motorcycle.
Look, I'm going to throw this out there. You went to quote unquote, you were frozen in like the 40s, right?
Oh no, not this Captain America. This Captain America was just a regular dude whose dad happened to be a soldier that everybody called Captain America. And then he got injected with some kind of serum.
Wow, okay. I was trying to like justify the fact where he would have like a fucking broke ass van and like
nope. This guy is just driving around in the shaggin' wagon.
Alrighty.
It even has carpet on it.
It also took me a little bit to recognize, you know, we've seen this movie before. I've seen it. This is probably like my third time watching it. Annie McEnroe is in the film, and she plays the reporter girl that's helping Karen White's brother, you know, find out like really what happened to her because she worked with her, right?
Yeah, that's Reb Brown's character who dresses like he stole all of his clothes from Joe Bob Briggs.
She's Jane Butterfield and Beetlejuice. And who's that? You're like, who's Jane Butterfield if you're not really a Beetlejuice fan? She's the sister of Barbara, Gina Davis's character. And then we have Sybil Danning, who's playing the Christopher Lee Stilba, Christopher Lee's sister. Very strange relationship. And she's been a whole bunch of things. But what I love her in is Reform School Girls, because I fucking love that movie.
That movie's nuts.
So yeah, those are the recognizable faces in the film. And let me tell you, you know, seeing the Howling, obviously, never had I ever remembered that Karen White was... What's her face's name from the movie? Dee Wallace. And I'm like, that is the worst fucking name for like a werewolf. Like Karen White, the werewolf. No.
Yeah. It's not a good look for her.
And she's not in this film at all.
Yeah, I love how they replaced all of her footage from the original Howling. I guess they couldn't get the rights to it, so they just replaced it with the most horrible makeup you've ever seen.
Not even horrible makeup. This woman doesn't even look anything like Dee Wallace. Like, they didn't make no efforts. They were just like, white woman, there you go. You are now Dee Wallace's character, and you're Karen White.
I love, too, how they, like, made a point. Like, at the end of the Howling, I remember he got, like, a single action, like, it was either a bolt-action rifle or something, put the silver bullet in it and shot her. And then this one, whoever's shooting her is apparently using like an AK-47 because there's just bullets flying all over the place in there. And they're like, oh yeah, he shot her with silver bullets, but he took the bullets out during the autopsy, so she'll come back to life. What? When the hell have you ever heard that in the werewolf lore? I've only ever seen that like in one Dracula movie where they took the stake out of his heart and he came back to life. I think I've seen that maybe more than one Dracula movie, but I've never seen that in a werewolf movie where if like you take the silver bullet out after you shoot them, they come back to life.
I mean, they're immortal. So,
Yeah,
and that's the
werewolves.
only thing. Yeah, werewolves, they live a really long time.
A long time. They're not immortal. That's why you see the gray werewolves.
Exactly, because they're like 400 years old. I'm not saying, I'm saying,
Or
well,
they're
depends.
45. They're aging in dog years, for Christ's sake. By the time it's been 10 years as a werewolf, they've already been like 70 years past.
I'm saying I think werewolf lore, depending on where they can either, I mean, like, look at the freaking Lycans from Underworld. They were old as hell. They had fought with the vampires, it was like 300 years or some shit. They have
That's
long...
because they were in the Matrix.
What? No, they have long lives. Nevertheless, okay, this... fine, that was the way that they decided they were needed to. This is the only way to bring the characters together, was to have this whole like, we're gonna kill Karen White like for real this time, and then like figure out what's this whole werewolf thing about. Let me tell you, if I'm like a young up and coming reporter and I'm trying to fucking break a story, I'm not breaking a story in Yugoslavia. Okay, no offense.
No. Now that's they filmed the movie in places like that over there, but no. Where did they go to break the story?
Transylvania.
That's right, because that's where the werewolves are from.
Yeah,
I would really wanted them to run into Dracula while they wrote. That would have made this movie perfect. But yeah, so
he's just sipping tea. It's just like a pan and scan. Like, it's just like a fast, like he's like sipping like tea somewhere. That's it.
Or he just cuts that guy who's obviously like the old time Dracula outfit, just sitting in the bar and he sees the werewolves and stuff run by and just goes, and just keeps drinking his tea in the bar.
They couldn't do that because they used all of the fucking like attire for this film, which is mostly leather and nakedness, right? It's just mostly leather everywhere. They used it on Christopher Lee, who is in the craziest like punk-esque outfit in a punk club. He's wearing like the sunglasses that are like pointy in the end.
I've got a picture of it. We'll post it.
It's fucking classic. I'm just like, did he get to choose his own clothes? What was his reaction to wearing these clothes in this film?
Yeah, and so the basic bones plot of this one is Christopher Lee shows up at the funeral of Karen White, tells the brother, your sister's a werewolf. They took the bullets out of her, so she's going to come back to life. So she's going to be in that coffin alive for a long time. So we should take her out and stab her through the heart with this silver dagger. Excuse me. And then, they do, in a very interesting ceremony they set up. I love Christopher Lee. He prays a lot in this movie. He prays for guidance. And then when they decide, well, we've got to hunt down the source of the werewolves, where else would they be? But like you said, Transylvania. They go to Transylvania, and shit just gets weirder from there. But apparently Christopher Lee had to stop off at the punk club first to look for this other werewolf. I think they just really wanted a scene with punks in it in this movie, and they just had to shove it in because not only do we have that extended scene in the club where the band is singing the song The Howling.
Babel is the name of the band. And let me just preemptively tell you, if you hear the song, if you don't think that you can hear that song for like an hour and a half plus, don't watch the movie. Because, spoiler alert, it's the only fucking song in the movie. It's the same song throughout the whole... Now, mind you, I love the song. It's catchy. But do I love it because they drilled it into my head so many times?
Yeah, is it the leader is good, the leader is great, surrender your will, as of this date? Or you just keep repeating that until you're just suddenly brainwashed by the song? It's hard to tell.
And they use that footage of the punk club also multiple times in the movie, even parts where
it doesn't make any sense. They're in Transylvania and suddenly they just cut to the punk club with that one guy singing the Howling.
And they're in America at that point. So they're going from like America to Transylvania, which is really Yugoslavia. It was filmed there.
Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia. I don't know why I keep saying Yugoslavia. Did I say that the first time?
Yeah.
Czechoslovakia. And
my favorite part about this when they filmed it is reading the story hearing the story on the commentary DVD, where instead of sending the werewolf costumes, they sent a huge crate of Planet of the Apes costumes, and they had nothing to do except just sew more hair on the ape costumes and just film all the scenes as quick cutaways so you couldn't get a good look at them. And that's also why we have Christopher Lee briefly explaining how sometimes when a man becomes a werewolf, he must devolve into a lower form of man before he can become a werewolf, just in case you happen to think those costumes look a lot like apes. They threw that line. They've had Christopher Lee throw that line in there, which apparently he came up with himself.
Let me tell you, he was a fucking jack of all trades. Like,
yeah,
Christopher Lee is the fucking shit.
He
was, I should say.
I have a feeling he's one of those things that, like, if you had a shitty movie and you brought Christopher Lee on, one, he made it better just by showing up and acting in it. Two, I have a feeling that he's the kind of actor that would pull the director aside and be like, "You're directing for shit. Here's how you do it." And would just explain to him what to do. Nicely, maybe. But I think he would be very firm about it and get what he wanted done.
We just hopped on a plane to Transylvania, and we totally skipped over the fact that during the whole I'm gonna, like, you know, stab the sister in the coffin thing, there's a werewolf. And they decide, you know what's the best thing to capture a werewolf that's running away from you?
A volleyball net?
It's a volleyball net. It looked like from the dollar store. It looked like someone took like a mop and just made it into a fucking net and threw it on him. And it's not, when he's on the floor, it's not even covering his full body. It's like his lower torso.
And then he's like, "No, I can't get out." He's like the fucking fly. He's trapped just laying there going, "Help me."
That part just got me fucking cracking up.
I don't know what they were smoking during this movie, but it was good stuff.
Now, back in Transylvania, you know, Christopher Lee, also, spoiler alert, he has a sister, we said that earlier. Her name is Sturba, and she's an old fucking crone. She's a crone, right? She has been waiting for this special moment where she's gonna, I don't know, slit the throat of like a virgin girl and like drink her blood or use her blood, and then magically she's gonna be turned into a young woman.
So she's also Elizabeth Bathory, along with being a werewolf.
Oh, and not also is she, that's not where it stops. She's also an enchantress.
Oh yeah, she works a mad 80s CG magic.
Yeah, she has fucking magic. She's a werewolf that has magic. They do not explain this at all in the film. I feel like they give a very like just one line explanation. But also Christopher Lee has magic
that he never bothered to use or motherfucking mention at any point before. He just whips out the magic.
This is just like in Lord of the Rings, where it's like, Gandalf, what the fuck, man? You fucking have all this goddamn magic, but all you do is walk around with a stick and you use the magic one time.
Yeah, you beat more people with a stick than you did with magic.
Yeah. So he's just used to being in movies where people, obviously he wasn't Gandalf, but, you know, Sauron, he has magic, but he just really doesn't really use it. He does use it in this movie. He uses it like once or twice.
Yeah, a little bit. But my favorite thing about this movie is that, like all 80s movies that are set in any European country, as soon as they hit the ground, they immediately befriend a dwarf. As soon as they get there, Christopher Lee's like, my old friend Vasile.
A little person.
Dwarf is also acceptable. ...
Yes, they do. And what is the whole point? Like, there's like evil ones that are working with, he becomes evil because Sturba gets her hooks into him.
Yeah. So there's evil people around. And, you know, I don't think this is probably too far off what it would be like if you checked into a hotel in Transylvania and you were a bunch of crazy looking Americans who showed up and were like, "Hey, what's going on? Are you having some kind of festival here?" Mind you, they just passed through like an entire fucking street fair to get to the hotel.
Before they get to the street fair, there's a blockade. There's a whole bunch of people just standing in the middle of the road. They get out, and there's this fucking old ass lady. She's laying in the middle of the road, and I'm like, it's a trap. It's a trap. Like, they blink their eye.
Then the guy goes, a car hit her, and she fell in the road. She needs help.
And there's like 20 people standing around her. Multiple people could help her, but they do nothing. And then within the blink of an eye, they fucking disappeared. And then Christopher Lee, the girls, she goes, where did they're gone. Where'd they go? They're not here, but they are here.
And then Christopher Lee just fucking stabs the woman on the ground through the heart with a silver knife, which he doesn't leave in her, by the way. So was she a werewolf or not? So he just stabs her and then just kicks her body over the side of the cliff and goes on about his business. Says, I'll meet you in the village, and just takes off walking down the road. Like,
he disappears into the fucking woods.
Like,
okay?
You couldn't just fucking ride in with him? Why?
No, he's out. Okay, he has business to attend to in the fucking woods. He's gonna collect some like fairy rings or some rocks or some shit to rub together later. I don't know what the fuck is he doing, but he's off and like literally just jumps into the fucking woods. He's gone. And then, like you do, you find, a place to stay. And the place, let me tell you, the person that works at the front desk, super sus. Like, everyone is mad sus in this. Everyone's staring at them. They're, like, weird. They had, like, kind of like Charlton Heston, when he ended up in that freaking crazy-ass place with the Wicker Man. They had Wicker Man vibes.
That was Edward Woodward.
Like, is that really?
Yes.
Why did I think Charlton Heston?
He's been in some other questionable movies, but he wasn't in The Wicker Man. That movie was too good for Charlton Heston.
Wow. Okay.
But Christopher Lee was, so.
Well, there you go. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. But still, weird fucking vibes, okay? The town. Everyone's like leering. They're like,
well, my favorite part is when they obviously, you can see they're in like every building in town is a 2-story building maximum. They go into the building. The guy goes, yes, we will put you in room 666. And even the guy goes, that's weird. Doesn't look like your hotel would have 6 floors. Because the hotel that they walked into is obviously not the same hotel that they went into from the outside. It's this huge fucking hotel on the inside. On the outside, it looks like a fucking, like I said, it couldn't be more than 2 stories. And like the creeper at the desk, Jesus. Just, what was it they said? And then one guy's just like, yes.
Yeah, he was weird. And you know what?
No, don't stay there. Because I don't care what the travel guide says. That place is suspicious. Get the fuck out.
And just like in, you go up to the room and you're like, you know what? All this weirdness has made me mad hot. So let's just fuck up against the wall here and keep the window open. And everyone in the town, I'm talking about like there's a festival, okay? People are singing, they're dancing. We're going to get into the whole people singing and dancing on the stage in a second because that's a whole fucking other conundrum. And they're singing and they're dancing, but yet at the same time, because everyone's a motherfucking werewolf, they can smell like, I guess, like
the sex scene is happening.
I was gonna say the pussy juice. I was gonna get real dirty in here because they're werewolves. They're smelling all the sex magic, and they're like, they're getting all weird and turned on. And let's just zone in on what I just said. So the main person that's getting weird and turned on
is Jimmy Smith's older brother.
Yes, Jimmy Smith's older brother, which looks just like Jimmy Smith. While this is also happening, before this and after this, in all kinds of fucking places in the movie, there's a crazy werewolf orgy going on between Sturba, who became a young woman. Like I said earlier, she became a young woman, and now her first call to order is, I am now young, so now I must have the fucking with the girl that I had, the vicious woman that I had come over from America here. She has much potential to make fur babies. And Vlad.
Those are the honest words. She's not embellishing that at all. She said, you will make fine babies with Vlad. Okay, but you're also having sex with Vlad at the same time. So you're not going to make babies with him? I don't understand.
She She's like, look, my body looks good and my face looks good, but my innards, they're fucking
still
rotten.
old.
They're still old. I have arthritis. I look like I'm 35, but inside I'm 85. And the whole werewolf orgy scene, you think, are you into that? Are you a furry? Or are you not a furry? You just like to see people have sex? Yeah, so they could not have sex because
yeah, and this is again, we get this from the Blu-ray. Apparently, the makeup was so delicate that if anybody started having any kind of fake sex scene, all the fur just fell off. So they could only just kind of lay next to each other and growl and claw at each other. It kind of reminded me like what a sex scene would be like in the old Batman TV show between Catwoman and Batman. They would just lay there on the bed and be like, meow, and claw at each other. That's what the threesome was like.
Yeah, it was a very strange threesome. Because nothing was going on, but yet they were
Everything
all
was going on?
sweaty and there's hair everywhere. And they do not look good. They look really terrible with that matted hair all over them. And
also, let me tell you what. Blonde werewolf, not into it.
No. Vlad is there. But while he's having an orgy... he happens to also be in the fucking town square dancing it up and singing at the fucking fair. How is that possible?
So the timeline was kind of unclear on that. Did all that happen before? Was it happening during? Did Vlad finish up the werewolf threesome and be like, well, it's time for me to be on stage in 5 minutes. I got to hurry on into town. Let me change back into a human and then just go creepily stare at the window during the sex scene.
Then there's like an uncomfortable scene while there's that sex scene, and I said before, like the werewolf Vlad is getting all hot in his singing and dancing, lower in the village. He accosts like one of the village dancers who's not a werewolf, and he accosts her and he starts like molesting her and like kissing her, and she's not into it at all. Like you could literally see on the actress's face. Like, she's like, what the fuck is going on right now? Why are you, like, kissing and touching me?
Yeah, you got the feeling like, was that in the script or was this guy just horny and just started grabbing people?
I don't know, but Vlad has he can be in two places at the same time. Magic powers. Maybe this is the reason why they brought magic into the movie, because they were like, you know what? This movie, we just shot several different pieces and several different scenes. We had Chris Lee. We just had to, get what we could. And for whatever reason, we were not able to make like a good movie. So we're just going to throw magic. Because anytime you throw magic, you're like, look, this shit is uncut. It doesn't make sense. It's all over the place. Because there's scenes that are in the present, past, and the future all at the same time.
Meanwhile, we're cutting back and forth to the bar in L.A. with the punk band singing for some random reason.
This band is tired, okay? Because they've been singing for like days, okay, and they're wearing the same clothes. Like the punks, they're still all there. It's like they're in a fucking crazy time loop.
Yeah, they're stuck like fucking Bill Mummy has him like trapped in a town somewhere, making him perform for him all day long.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know. Where does she get the werewolf magic? Don't look don't ask any questions in the film, because none of them are going to be answered. We don't know where this magic is coming from. Now, I
had noticed this when I watched it before, but this was another thing the Blu-ray taught us, was that apparently Sybil Danning got the massage oil or whatever it was they were using to glisten her up in the one scene in her eyes. And that's why for a few scenes she's just randomly wearing the dark sunglasses, and then, they're gone. There's like one scene in the middle of everything, she's wearing big heavy glasses. I'm thinking, you couldn't just wait until her eyes were a little better on that one? No? Okay.
No, they were like, no, we need to fucking film this shit and we need to get the fuck out of here. This is we need to just do what we need to do and just get out. The 80s special effects, they're just...
Which is insane because, the first Howling had some of the best werewolf makeup and transformations ever. And then, man, did this series go off a cliff after the first one. All the sequels to all the horror movies are usually, they get a little progressively worse. But I feel like this one, they put the fucking car in overdrive and drove right over the edge of the Grand Canyon in the second one. And then just said, fuck it, now that we're at the bottom, we'll just keep going further. We'll just keep digging.
Look, man, you got ape suits. You got glued on, like, hair. Who God knows where that hair came from. Like, glued on hair on these people. It's taken place in America, then Transylvania, and then America again. But America doesn't really feel like America.
Because they filmed it all in Czechoslovakia. So that's why you notice you never saw any streets in America. You never saw them on. All you ever saw them in America was in their apartment, in the graveyard, and then back in their weird apartment at the end. Because
and the club, obviously.
And the club. But yeah, all of it was filmed in Czechoslovakia. So of course, even houses don't look right, you know. Which
even in the club, you know, right off the bat, this is not America. Like, it has such a foreign feel, you know, in like a good way. Like, it's like,
and the graffiti on the wall is randomly, it just has stuff painted like the Bat Cave. Like, that would be super subversive. So whoever was doing this was like, oh, yeah, I bet punks would be into Batman. So we're going to paint Bat Cave on the side of the wall in the punk cave, in the punk club multiple times. It's just written everywhere in spray paint, Bat Cave. And something else was on there. I can't remember what it was now, but it was like something very innocuous that you would think a punk club would have, like, you know, fuck the police or, you know, anarchy in the UK or something spray painted on the wall. But no, they have Bat Cave spray painted on the wall because this was probably super subversive to whoever was designing this in Czechoslovakia.
Also, there's like hints of like actual softcore porn because there's scenes where there's orgies happening, and in the background, the actors are really fucking like.
Yeah, apparently when they told them go, they went for it. When they told them what they wanted, they went for it, and they just kept on going.
And you know what? If I was a werewolf, okay, I'm not gonna get in bondage wear. Like, I want to be free. I'm not a dog. I'm higher than a dog. I'm not gonna be with a leather collar and like leather straps and shit. I'm gonna be naked. Like, I'm a werewolf. I'm like out, you know, living my life free. I'm not gonna be with the constraints of like bondage. Like, what the hell's up with that?
Just like people, all werewolves have their different kinks. Some like to wear collars. Maybe some like to wear little fuzzy sweaters. Who knows?
Well, no one was wearing fuzzy sweaters in this fucking bowl. If the terrible hair, yes, but not actual fuzzy sweaters. Everyone was like in some kind of bondage, spiky leather.
My favorite was the one that was like, everyone else has both boobs out. I just have one.
Yeah, she's just like, I'm just showing the one boob today. I'm just in a one boob like.
You only get lefty today. No one gets to see the right one.
Oh, goodness. You know, there's the ultimate fight between good and evil, of course. Every movie has to have this. You know,
this one is so good.
Sturba has been trying to get Chris Lee's character over to like they have to have a duel, you know, so because she just wants to kill him and get rid of him because he's the one that's always bringing her down. Vice versa, he's like, this bitch is evil, I need to fucking kill her. And then they have like a fucking 80s special effects fight, which makes it's over in like 2 seconds.
Well, what I love too is when they go as they're going to the castle, they start off with like 9 guys, and by the time they get there, it's Christopher Lee, Reb Brown, and that what's her name, Annie McEnroe. It's the 3 of them. That's it. Like, they could have just left by themselves and let these other poor people stay alive because no one else made it. They all got immediately slaughtered, and I love it where it's like you're watching, you can go, God damn, I can see the werewolf creeping up on him. Does no one notice? He's gone.
Chris Lee throws a were cocktail.
Yeah, that was my favorite. It's like a Molotov cocktail for werewolves. And the best part is the werewolf had bit a guy, and like he was laying on the ground. Christopher Lee's like, well, he's fucking dead. Just throws the cocktail, just blows both of them the fuck up. It's like a little mini nuke just went off.
And I said it was the Latin enchantments that he spewed there that fucking made him really explosive.
Oh, and something we forgot to mention, and this is my favorite thing, and someday I want this is going to be my dream job. I want to be like Christopher Lee, where I just walk into the place and they go, what's your name? And you just take out your card and hand it to him, and it just says occult investigator on it. No phone number, no address, just your name and occult investigator. He just hands him the card that says Stefan Collet, occult investigator. And you're like, all right, that's legit. He has a card.
No one's printing cards at this time like that. Just the Vistaprint doesn't exist where you could get like 150 cards for $20.
Yeah, you had to have some money, so they must have been like, well, fuck, he's got a business card. look at that, look at this. It's printed on like paper. It's thick and all this. They're like, this is amazing.
This is an amazing cardstock. I can feel it's engraved. I can feel the letters.
Yeah, it's like, well, shit, he must be a legit occult investigator. That's my. I just want to be able to roll up, take out my silver card case, and just flip a card out that just says Chad Youngblood, occult investigator. And by the way, but nowadays people are going to be like, where's your fucking email? Where's your text? Where do I call?
What's your handle?
How do I get a fucking hold of you? This doesn't help me. This is just your name and a fucking like pentagram under it. That doesn't help.
So nothing is explained. The movie is just fun to watch because it's just full of crazy shit. It doesn't make any fucking lick of sense.
It has nothing. The author of the original book also wrote several sequels to the original book, and this has nothing to do with any of those sequels that he wrote. So I'm sure he was not thrilled with this because all the actual novels are akin to the first movie in tone. So I'm sure this was not what he wanted.
The director did this movie, the part 3, which is the Marsupials, which is my favorite Howling movie.
That one I haven't seen. After I saw the second one, I never really went back to watch anymore. But I remember when I worked at the video store, every few months we would get a new one, like Howling 6, The New Nightmare, Howling 6, The Rebirth, Howling 7, we're starting over again. We're just trying to do everything.
Now, The Marsupials is a terrible film. This is not a recommendation for
Let me just ask you a question. Is there a were-kangaroo?
I'm not going to answer that.
So there's definitely a were-kangaroo.
It's a marsupial. So there is, what makes it a marsupial is that
it has a pouch?
Yes.
So I gotta see this now.
Yeah, this film is fucking nuts. And there's like a Halloween like dance scene where she's dressed up. I feel like she's dressed up as a nun. I haven't seen this in a very long time. But she has sex with a guy, and then she gets pregnant, and she has a little pouch where the little baby marsupials come out of.
Okay, I definitely
the
need to
baby
see
werewolf.
This.
Yeah, the movie's crazy. I own the movie, of course, because I saw it was like one of those like it's Saturday and they're giving it on TV, and I'm like, what the fuck is this movie? And then of course I'm like, I think this movie may be cutting out a lot of scenes. Yes, they were, because there's like sex scenes. You know, it's like Howling plus werewolves equals sex. I don't know when that occurred, but this was a thing when it came to these movies, because this film, I mean, there's so many sex scenes and it's just very sexual. And, you know, it even ends on a sexual note. After, you know, the whole shebang duel happens, you know, and they go, the Reb Brown and, you know, McEnroe get to live their fucking life back in, quote unquote, the United States.
Which I love that. Like, it happens to be Halloween. They get a trick-or-treater who's clearly a motherfucking werewolf.
And also clearly a dwarf, but supposed to be a child. It's very strange.
Then they go knock on the next door neighbor's door because they think that's where he came from. And it's a priest. And he's like, I am not married and I have no children. Ha 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 ha. Would you want to come in? And they're like, no, I think we've learned our lesson about that shit. And they just go back in their apartment. End of movie.
Yeah, very, very strange. So while that's happening, of course, now we've had like maybe 15 minutes where we haven't seen the band Babel sing the Howling song.
Yep.
So now we're going to end the note with that, and then also flash back to like all these other random scenes. But then mostly in between them, kind of like a subliminal message, we're going to just show Sybil Danning ripping off
her
shirt 19 times, okay? And this is not in a row. This is like sprinkled on. I think the last time it's like 5 times, like one after another. Then there's like a slight pause where she's just about to rip it off, and she's just showing one boob at this point. She's just about to rip the shirt off, and then she rips it off finally. This happens 19 times with a pause.
Yeah, and apparently this was just something the producers put in because they were like, hey, we just want to put this in a whole bunch of times. And he was like, the director just said, all right, I guess if you want, why not? Now, what's weird about this is the director of this, Philippe Mora, he also directed a horror movie that I love called The Beast Within, which was written by Tom Holland. So I guess it just depends with this guy who's writing it, whether he's going to produce a good movie. Because some of his other stuff is pretty decent, but I guess if he doesn't have a good script, he doesn't bring much to it.
No, I need to know more about what happened on this set, because this movie is all over the place. I can't even, especially if there was a novel that came out before the film, or was there a movie novelization?
No, it was the movie. It was a novel, because the novel of this came out like in the late 70s, and the first Howling was based off the original novel of it, and I've read the novel, and it's pretty close. The basic plot of it's the same. They just changed some of the characters and locations a little bit. But the basic plot's the same. You know, she moves out to the country. They run into the werewolves out there. There's the creepy werewolf woman trying to seduce her husband. All that stays the same. They just changed the setting slightly on it.
If anyone has read this Howling 2 novel, please let us know.
Oh, I have a copy of it somewhere, so I'm going to have to get it out and read it now.
Yeah, because, how can you stray? This is what I dislike. I dislike when there's a novel that they can refer to. Like, why did you decide to make a second movie to something that already existed in another format, but
and not use anything from it?
Yeah, was it just? I could understand if it was just unusable to the point, meaning things that occurred in the novel you were not going to be able to either afford because of effects. Like, you were not going to be able to show for this and another, but mostly because of money and effects.
Yeah, it's like in the John Dies at the End novel, there's a whole scene in the middle where they go to Las Vegas. When it came time to make the movie, they were like, there's no way we can go to Las Vegas and film this on the money we have, and we can't build enough casino. So they're like, well, fuck it, just cut that part out, because we can just set it somewhere else and just move it around.
Yeah. And
that's fine if you have to do it for that reason, but they still kept the basic story the same. This one was just like, nah, we're good.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But we did get majorly served on this one, because this is our second serving of 2021. And I did not want the second serving. I want to actually just eat it one time and then throw away the leftovers. Like, I don't... Because this was just
I feel like you
bad.
can't watch this a lot. You have to come back to it every few years, though. It's even better if you can show it to someone new every few years. It's like if you can surprise someone and show them Society, and they don't know what it's like,
that's not
and
a
then
fucking
you get to see the end of it and watch their face. Like when I showed you Society and I saw the absolute look of horror on your face on it. That's amazing.
No, I can never get those hours back from my life. Those hours are gone.
It was only an hour and a half.
They seemed like really long, just like this film too, and another movie we recently watched that we'll be covering later. It's like the sands. I could see them in the hourglass, and they're not going like multiple. It's like one grain at a fucking time. It's molasses. It's so bad.
I wonder if anybody's ever sat down and done like a marathon of all the Howling movies. If you have, contact us and let us know, because I want to know what it was like what was life like for you after that, after you watched all like 8, 9 Howling movies.
Oh no. Does Babel come back? Do they come back with another? And it's so crazy that music. I would have liked to hear that. I would like to hear that like in the first movie, because the song is pretty decent. It's and it's not punk at all. It's more like new wave.
Yeah, it's more like Tears for Fears kind of stuff, But this is probably what people like. These people were all older that were making this movie, and they were probably like, well, they're punks because they've got on weird glasses. That must be them.
Yeah, for real. This is someone thinking this is what, punk music sounds like, but they have no idea.
It's like when you get like a 60-year-old guy that tries to write like a movie with teenagers, and he has them talking about stuff. Like, I'm just going to throw George Lucas under the bus here, where he's going to write the movie with The Phantom Menace, and he's going to have Anakin saying, "That's so wizard." No, it's fucking not Anakin, because nothing has ever been described as fucking wizard.
You know what? I'm bringing that shit back in 2021. That's so fucking wizard.
No, you're not. It didn't work 20 years ago. It ain't going to work now.
It's becoming part of my vocabulary, and I will be using it multiple times throughout the year. Hopefully it doesn't disintegrate. Like, it doesn't ruin the year. The great start we've already had.
Yeah, we're already off to a great start. You don't need to help it any.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for the second serving of the Howling 2. Your sister is a werewolf.
So for the big question, how many knives do you give this movie?
1.
I was going to give it 1.5. So just because it's so crazy, I have so much fun with it. But I can't come back to it very often. Every about 5 years is enough.
See you in 2026.
All right.
Thank you so much, and stay tuned to the horror.
In the pale